10 years ago, the NBA was disrupted by technology business executives. They reshaped the way basketball teams were funded and built. And now the CEOs of companies worldwide are studying NBA players to disrupt their own patterns for growth. Here are the 3 things you need to learn from elite basketball players that will change your trajectory as a company and as a leader. Point 1, own the game. This is Steph Curry, the greatest shooter ever. He can drain logo jump shots with his eyes closed. It's easy to watch him put up these incredible moments and think that he's always had this gift. But that's not true. Steph was not even good enough to play college basketball. His dad, Dell, an elite NBA veteran shooter back in his day, knew something big had to change with his son's game before he had a shot. And this is what Dell had to say about his own son. On every team he ever played on, he was the smallest guy, so he had to find a way to get around that. Dell was referring to Curry's jumper. See, back in high school, Curry was shooting too low to get over the taller defenders. He would get blocked every time he moved up a level, so Curry and his dad had to make it their goal to fix this problem, no matter what. And they did it because of one key principle: intense, focused effort on the game. Steph and his dad, Dell, fixed the jump shot in one summer, which sounds short, but it's never that simple. Curry called that summer hell, and it was the most frustrating summer ever. He spent over 6 hours a day doing the same exact drills over and over again. Dell didn't even let him shoot from behind the three-point line until his form became muscle memory. They tore him down and they built him back up from scratch. For NBA players, the difference between scoring a basket and getting kicked off the league is how quickly they adapt to their play. CEOs are the same. They are constantly walking a real-life version of the Oregon Trail. Every step they make, they have to read and make the right decision. If they don't, then everything will start to crumble around them. And the best way to learn how to adapt is by introducing conflict into your game. I'm not talking about the conflict we see on social media. Instead, I'm talking about conflict that creates pressure within your game. Getting used to timed results, delivery, expectations of having to adapt fast to your game, changing situations in your company. It's just like doing double drills as fast as possible. It's going to be messy at first, but over a period of time, you won't have to think about making changes. Your body, your mind, and your team get to act in form of muscle memory. Own the game as a team. Point 2, think like a digital athlete. How to own the game is not the only thing CEOs learn from studying NBA players. There is a trait that is even more important than obsessing about control. That's where the king comes into play. You don't even have to know basketball to have heard of LeBron James. He's called King James for many reasons. He can see the future while he plays. He's known for calling out the opponent's plays before they happen, just based on how people are set up on the court. It's like he has a supercomputer in his skull that tracks every play, every event that's ever happened in his career. He can create, rotate, flip, and change sets on a moment's notice, something even the elite players in the NBA have trouble with. He's beaten the best team in NBA history to win the championship and guided a lost and broken city to the NBA promised land. But none of these things are the reason why he is so important to CEOs. There's a much simpler and a more important thing he's known for. See, playing at the highest level of basketball is next to impossible for most. Did you know that only 1.2% of all college basketball players make it to the NBA? And that number includes those who make it and then immediately drop out of the league because they aren't any good. It doesn't focus on those who make an impact on the league while they're there. It also doesn't show all-stars, MVPs, or final MVP winners. But the worst thing this number doesn't reveal is how many players are playing over 20 years and averaging near MVP numbers every year. In fact, there's only one player that is doing that, and that is King James. This superhuman feat doesn't really sound like something CEOs can learn from, right? Well, perhaps it is. The point here isn't that LeBron James is a freak athlete or a miracle on the hardwood. It comes down to how he treats his life. Not only is he insanely focused on his goals in the NBA, he's insanely focused on his treatment, his recovery, his rehab, the strengthening, the mental state. We've seen the story 1,000 times in the NBA. Promising talent, gifted athleticism, poor consistency, bad routines, dominates for 3 years and blows a knee or ankle. The natural talent only gets you so far. And you can be known as the smartest person in any room if you're a CEO, but totally unaware of your surroundings. You can have the best vocabulary, but zero EQ. You can start the business with the killer idea, but not reach your potential. CEOs look at elite athletes like LeBron James because they see the full holistic treatment of their game, their body. It's a business. The best CEOs are the executive of their mission. If they don't manage themselves like an elite athlete, like the best, like the king, then they aren't going to have a very consistent career. The CEO life is very unpredictable, and it can create a lot of anxiousness in your body and your mind if you're not built to cope with that environment. So for you as a CEO, your consistent high-performing results come from your attitude towards performance. It comes from your ability to think like a digital athlete. LeBron and Curry have these two qualities qualities that make them successful in not only basketball, but also in business and life. But there is one more thing that separates the best from the average. And this trait is the most important, in my opinion. It's the fuel that powers everything, drives success. And there's really only one basketball player known for this quality more than anybody else. Point 3, competitiveness. The Last Dance is a Netflix documentary that rated 9.1 on IMDb and 97% on Rotten Tomatoes. That's the 2 most popular TV and film review sites. And that's because this documentary isn't your average behind the scenes show. It's a documentary that was filmed before reality TV was even invented, and it charts the most incredible story of the greatest basketball player of all time, the Firecast, the most competitive athlete we've ever known. Michael Jordan is not just a name in basketball. He's a name throughout the world, as influential as any athlete, business person, or philanthropist that has ever lived or walked this planet, and the most marketable human ever. He's the reason Nike's at the top of their game in the shoe world. He's the reason the NBA hit record highs in popularity. He even influenced every basketball player's career for the next 30 years, including LeBron and Curry. And yet all of this is nothing compared to what he's really known for, which is what The Last Dance showcases. Michael was born to win. His competitiveness was so focused and intense that every NBA player who played against him says the same thing. You don't trash talk MJ. You will regret it. That's because Michael knew how to turn on greatness like a light switch. He wasn't scared of failing because to him, it wasn't an option. Curry and LeBron also have the same competitive nature. And so do CEOs, the best CEOs of the last 2 decades. The leaders who've built the greatest and the most controlling companies on the planet, they are defined by their competitive desire to win. They want to win the hearts and the minds of the market. See, competitiveness in business isn't competing against other businesses. That's for the amateur CEOs. The best athletes, the best CEOs in business see their customers as competition, and they are fiercely fighting for their trust and advocacy. Competitiveness in business drives you to build a world that your customers will appreciate in the future. Competitiveness is pre-launching an electric car before it's even built, getting to 10,000 pre-orders just so your team has a reason to focus on making the impossible a reality. See, demanding the respect of your competitors, your customers, by executing at a higher level of greatness than anyone else on your playing field is prepared to, that's the differentiating factor as a CEO. That's your advantage as a digital athlete. Own the game, think like an athlete, and be competitive. These 3 traits will define your journey. And while understanding them in practice does take years, you can check out this video to fast track your own foundations as a digital athlete.